We have some great stories to tell you about today. We're going to hear about Custodian Challenge from Diane Ewing from Avago. Diane's going to go first. Water Conservation from Ben Costello, who works with Whitewater Descents. Green Event Success from Carrie Ventola at Pathways Hospice. And Sustainability Management System from Jane Kafka from Airbnb, architects here in town.
Hello, I'm Diane Ewing with Avago Technologies, and I am the contract manager for our custodial services at Avago, as well as our solid waste and recycling program. I'm also the leader of our green team and the ClimateWise representative for Avago. ClimateWise is a platinum partner, and many of you probably know, to be a gold or a platinum partner, you have to hold 3 challenges, employee challenges per year. One of the challenges has to be at least a month long. And we've got a pretty aggressive recycling program at Avago. In 2010, we had over a 72% diversion rate. But we wanted to still address the 196,000 pounds of trash that we actually sent to the landfill. So trying to decide, well, what do we do about that? What's in this trash? And we decided to make our challenge a custodial challenge for 2011. And the reason for that is our custodians are the last line of defense before waste leaves our building. They've got the best view of employee behavior, and they've got the best opportunities to see areas in need of improvement. So the participation by our custodial staff was voluntary. They are contracted service, and it's voluntary, but we're finding that most of them are participating on some level. The objective that we came up with for this challenge is to increase awareness and compliance of recycling and waste reduction. And we decided to make this challenge a full year challenge rather than the month that was minimum, because we decided, and when I say we, I'm talking about the green team kind of came up with this concept together. We wanted to ingrain principles of sustainability into the work and personal lives of our custodial staff. And we wanted to give them more time for educational opportunities and give time for ideas to evolve and to be implemented. How it works, the custodial contractors are rewarded for suggestions that would reduce waste or increase our diversion rate, going above and beyond the call of duty to reduce waste, participating in trainings that are offered to them or sustainable living events at Avago. We've got an Earth Day celebration every year that's pretty big, and we do America Recycles Day in November. We have lunch and learn opportunities for them to just to either directly or indirectly affect their jobs, but certainly affecting their lives and give them some education. We will also reward them for asking questions, identifying possible new waste streams that we could be addressing, or green products, that type of thing. And we give them rewards for nominating someone or being nominated for our Seen Being Green program. And that is an awards, it's positive reinforcement, basically, with a reward system for being observed doing green behavior. And the rewards are the immediate gratification of a little prize from our treasure chest, if you will. And we have quarterly drawings for 8 hours of paid time off if you get your name in the hat for any of these things above, any ideas, participating in training and such. So 8 hours paid time off, and also a drawing for a $50 Visa gift card. At the end of the year, we're going to have a grand prize of a $250 gift card, and the gift cards are actually donated by our custodial contractor, the supplier itself, and that's great because they're really getting involved, really supporting this whole effort. And then they get recognition from their employer. In fact, this contractor, they have a drawing for a car each year, and these folks will be eligible to do that sort of, to be in that drawing, and they also have an employee newsletter, so they'll get recognized in that as well. So what do you do to keep this fresh? This is a year-long event, a year-long challenge. So keeping it fresh is really important. In Q1, we did advanced recycling training. Our recycle contractor is Waste Not Recycling, and they came in and they were talking about the things that can be recycled, things that they can't, how do you tell the difference, who do you ask questions of, that sort of thing. We did a green cleaning training with a flat mop green cleaning technology in Q2, plus the Earth Day event that they could participate in. In Q3, we did a Think Outside the Trash campaign. I'll get to that in depth in just a moment. We also did a team luncheon as basically a thank you. We're 3/4 of the way through. Let's keep pushing. Do you have any more ideas? We did a recycle trivia, things that were pertinent to Avago, to our site, and just kind of keeping it fun and fresh for them. We also gave them new T-shirts. Here's my show and tell. It's got the company logo, their company logo on the front, and on the back we have this. This is one of 5. So they got to choose what logos they wanted to have on the backs of their T-shirts. We have one that's Save the Planet. It's the only planet, Save the Earth. It's the only planet with coffee. Reduce, reuse. It's fun. And so it's fun stuff. I mean, they get to wear the shirts. And again, this is whether they wear the shirts or not, it's their choice. But they most often do decide to wear their shirts. So that also brings that out, kind of lays that out there for the rest of the employees, sets a good example for the rest of the employees, and kind of keeps it in the forefront of their minds as well. And in Q4, we are going to offer a tour of the Waste Not Recycling facility so these folks can understand, well, where does all of this waste go when it leaves Avago? And I think that'll be really helpful for them as well. So now, the Think Outside the Trash campaign. So we're talking about a full year challenge, but this is a 1-month little inset in here that we ran in for the month of July. And we were trying to encourage the staff, the custodial staff, to really pay attention to what is in the trash and to engage employees. So we have a dedicated bulletin board, or green team bulletin board, in a main hallway at Avago, and we let them post on there what items are compostable, what items are recyclable, that they've found in the trash that we could put up there as an example, just as an education piece for the rest of our employees. And then as the employees or the staff put stuff up on the board, they got their name in the drawing for the quarterly drawing. So in July, for this, the objectives to educate and remind employees about composting and recycling. And they also gave out, as they saw fit, when they would go into cubicles and empty trash, if there was somebody doing a great job of recycling, they would leave little star notes, just like, hey, wow, you're a recycling star, you're doing a great job, thank you, you're helping make a difference, and you're making my job easier. If someone was maybe didn't realize that something that they were putting in their trash could be recycled, they left little friendly notes. Hey, did you know that this plastic, we can recycle this and you can take it to this part of to a recycle station. They've even offered to have additional desk side recycling dedicated to pop bottles and cans. They offered that to the employees and said, hey, I'll come by and empty this if you would like that. And several employees took advantage of that. But they would leave these on friendly little frog notes. And so that was kind of fun. Now, we got some positive feedback and we got some negative feedback on this. The positive feedback was, of course, everybody liked the star notes. They felt good about that. And it encouraged people to ask questions for the bulletin board. People would come up and say, yeah, well, I didn't think you could recycle that. How come you can recycle this? And so they learned, and that was really positive. And the frog notes did help change some folks' behavior, and that was good. However, on the negative side, the frog notes got some feedback that the frog notes were not positive, that they felt offended by them. I find these really offensive. But it was very, very, kept it positive. There was not negativity like you're doing a rotten job of recycling. It's, hey, did you know, can I help you out with this by giving you an additional receptacle? But some folks were offended by that. We also had heard that the recyclables on the bulletin board were unsanitary. We washed everything, or they were just examples of things that might have been found in the trash, and that we might be invading confidentiality issues if we were in people's trash. And frankly, with 700 employees and somebody's trying to empty that many trash cans, I don't think we're going to be reading their mail that they threw in there, but that's how they felt. And then afterwards, we did a top 10 things that we learned. This was kind of poking fun at ourselves a little bit. Top 10 things that we learned from our custodial challenge. And, you can't read that on the screen, but it's paper. It might be an origami swan to some, but mostly it goes in desk side paper recycling. Pop cans make a great pyramid, but lousy trash. Put them in cans and bottles. Gold stars still make me sort of smile. Frogs? Who the heck thought of frogs? So we were kind of just poking fun at ourselves and just trying to make light of the negative feedback that we got. During this challenge, some of the ideas that were implemented were adding additional recycle stations in service areas such as our basements and other maintenance areas. We started a construction and project waste recycling program, put in additional compost containers in higher use areas, scrap metal into manufacturing areas, started plastic bag recycling in our break areas. Lots of very effective things were implemented there. I think we're seeing a change. The unexpected results, I need to wrap this up, but the unexpected results that we got were that the custodians felt empowered to make a difference in our waste reduction efforts. They had a feeling of ownership and really became engaged. And they're building relationships with employees. So through these frog notes and star notes, they've kind of gotten to know some of the employees. And you are more likely to help the guy that you know. It's like, oh, I'm going to help you out here, rather than somebody that you don't know. The trash magically disappears, and I don't really care where it goes. But if you know that it's Sue that's emptying your trash, and Sue's working really hard, you're going to do your best to try to make her job easier. And that, I would say, is probably the hugest, just the best thing that has come out of this. Because as we build those relationships, I think we're going to continue to see more cooperation from our employees that we have not seen before. And what we're learning, engaging custodians is a great way to affect change. It's hard to keep momentum in a year-long challenge, and even cute frogs can be construed as negative. If your staff captures stray recyclables from trash, keep it on the down low. That can be very controversial, but it's also incredibly effective in increasing our diversion rate. And support from the custodial company, from our contractor, is huge. It's made a big, big difference. So I'll wrap it up with that. Thank you very much.
We're going to hear about water conservation from Ben Costello. And I understand that Ben works in a non-traditional office. I can't wait to hear what he does for water conservation. So here he is, Ben Costello.
All right, hello everyone. Well, my name is Ben. I'm with Mountain Whitewater Descents Raft Company here in Fort Collins. Believe it or not, Diane and I did not kind of go over our titles before we did this, so that just kind of happens. But I'm talking about some projects that we've done, some that are water conservation and a few others, but basically projects that are creative and things that are kind of outside the box and things that we found we can do on a smaller budget. We're a small company right now. You're looking at the only employee. So our budget for a lot of these programs is very small as well. We're a locally owned, operated whitewater outfitter. We run trips on the Poudre River. We are now a gold partner hopefully working towards platinum for ClimateWise this year. But one of the things we really do is we like to find creative and new ways to reuse, repurpose materials, and come up with maybe some ideas that can have a positive effect on climate, but may not necessarily be something that everybody's doing. So the first project is a water conservation project, and it deals with how we wash our equipment. We basically thought we were using too much water every day to clean our rafting gear. Some companies fix this problem by just not washing their equipment. We have found that doesn't work very well. So what we did was work with our process to eliminate one of the big bins we used to wash. We used to fill up 3 70-gallon bins daily to wash our equipment, and we were able to get rid of one of those bins by just changing our process. As you can see, it saves a lot of water per season, per day, and we have found it also made it faster. Our employees get done with work earlier. It's more efficient in the use of the chemicals. Everything we use is non-toxic, but it also does keep more of those chemicals on the equipment and not in the parking lot. And it's just because instead of dunking equipment in one final bin, we took the water, put it in a spray bottle, and just spray stuff off when it's hanging on a rack. And it made a huge difference. It cost us whatever a little plastic spray bottle costs, and we're able to really use a lot less water, make our employees happy, and a good impact for what I would consider to be small effort. Another water project that we did this last season was pretty interesting. Basically, we have a very, very old building. It's over 100 years old, and we're on old farmland where we're out in the floodplain. And so when the ground unfreezes in the spring, our basement floods. And not just like it drips in there, but like there's several feet of water in the concrete basement. So we have to pump that out. What we did was we designed a system where you pump the water through pipes and hoses, and we use that groundwater to water our plants and our grass and anything else that needs watering for that season. So we're not using any city water to do any of that. It's all recycled groundwater. So it works really well that way. It's on a sump pump, so it just pumps when there's water in the basement. So it actually waters, especially the grass, more efficiently because we have thick, kind of very clayey soil. And if you water that small amounts more often, it's more efficient than dumping a big bunch of water on it all at once. So that certainly helped us. I'm estimating, depends on the water year, certainly, real wet years we don't water as much, so we may not save quite as much water, but it was almost 130,000 gallons of water per season that we could avoid using. So it's a huge amount of water and something that, we have to pump that water out of the basement, so why not use it in a creative way? Other unexpected results there, certainly save some money on water bills, but we don't have to pay anyone to water our grass or our plants. So it saves staff time, saves us money that way. And like I said, it's more efficient. So we found that was a really neat project, great success there. Eventually we'll have to replace that, sump pump, so that'll cost us some, but not a real big deal. Another creative project we've done, and this one doesn't do with water conservation, but I thought it was really cool, is we recycle shoes. Guests who come rafting are required to wear footwear that stays on, so usually old tennis shoes. And when they get done with rafting, they do not want them anymore because they're soaking wet. It's very wasteful, but it is what it is. That's what people do. So we find they would leave them in the parking lot or just throw them away. So we found a way to recycle those shoes to repurpose them. Basically, all we had to do was get some bins where people could throw their recycled shoes in. And you can send them to different places. We use One World Running. They're a company in Boulder who they'll send shoes that can be used to Africa, or they send shoes that can't be reused to Nike to be recycled. I found this year another company based out here in Colorado, Runner's Roost. You guys have probably heard of them. They do a very similar thing. They actually will reuse the shoes in Denver, closer places, so I think that's cool, a little more local. But again, if the shoes are not reusable, they send them to Nike and they recycle them. Basically, they take the shoes apart, they grind them all up, and they get made into running tracks or carpet padding or whatever. They call it Nike grind. But those are some websites if you're interested in seeing what those companies do. But we were able to, we got 103 shoes this year. Doesn't sound like that many, but when you look at a pile of old shoes, it looks like a lot more. About half of them, 50 or so, were able to be reused, and the rest were recyclable. So we thought that was really cool too. One thing I found interesting that I didn't expect to happen with this project was anytime someone sees a bin, they assume it is for garbage. People in Fort Collins, you may not realize, are really, really good at recycling and reusing and looking for those alternate, methods of disposal. So I spend some time certainly cleaning garbage and recycling out of the shoe bins, but again, that's just one of those things you do. I guess I'm also the custodian at the business too, so I get that wonderful task. Yeah, but another really neat project. Didn't really cost us much money, but a great way to reuse these shoes and hopefully show people, educate people that there's other things you can do with items than just throw a wet pair of shoes away. And one other project I want to share that we did, which unfortunately didn't find quite as much success, but we're going to stick with it, is our guest offset program. One big part of tourism and a huge impact that we have is that people have to come to us to go rafting. So you're either traveling on an airplane or a car. Believe it or not, a lot of people do actually come to Fort Collins in the summertime just to go rafting. So it's a big deal, and we certainly don't want to encourage people to not travel. That doesn't do us any good. So we have partnered with Trees Water People. If you guys don't know them, they're a local firm. They do great stuff with carbon offsets, and basically designed a map where our guests could look on that map and see where they're from in the country, and it will tell them very easily how much money they can donate to Trees Water People to offset their travel cost. And this is one of those things where in a community like this, you see a lot more people take advantage of those type of things. Coming from the South and the Midwest, I've noticed especially that's a much harder deal to convince people that it's a good thing. So we're going to stick with it. We didn't have a lot of great success there, but we're going to keep going. I've found our programs tend to build yearly, and I think the more we can educate our staff on selling this as a good thing, the more of these offsets we can actually do. But another good way to work with a local company, try to educate people about what we're doing and things they can do to help.
Our next topic is green event success, and Carrie Rentola from Pathways Hospice is going to tell you all her story.
My name is Carrie Rentola. I'm the Marketing Events Coordinator at Pathways Hospice, which is a local independent nonprofit that's been serving Larimer and now Weld County since 1978. And there are probably 2 to 3, 4 events every weekend in Loveland and Fort Collins and throughout Larimer County. I mean, there are events all the time where there didn't used to be. And the challenge for us as a nonprofit agency was not just to host another fundraising event, but to host a more sustainable fundraising event for our agency. And one of the reasons we chose to do that is because donors that are out there and supporters and businesses that want to support events are getting more demanding in where their funds and support might go. And a lot of people are interested in nonprofits not just hosting another fundraiser, another gala, another golf tournament, but in doing events that are more sustainable for the community. And that's where Breakfast in the Park comes in. It is not your ordinary picnic. It is our summer fundraising event that we host in City Park in Fort Collins. The background on the event is pretty simple. It was established about 14 years ago with a community focus. It was never supposed to be an event that raised a lot of money for the agency. It was an awareness event that allowed people to learn more about Pathways Hospice and our programs and services. But it is an outreach event and a fundraising event. We keep it very low cost, and we anticipate anywhere from 800 to 1,000 people at the event every year. The event highlights include a full breakfast buffet, which is pretty traditional. We've got local music, we've got activities for children. Probably the standout part of this event is a live butterfly release. And the butterfly release is done in memory or tribute to those that have been lost. And every cent that we raise at Breakfast in the Park goes to our children and teenager grief and loss program that a lot of people are not aware of, but our bereavement programs for our children and our teenagers are very unique. We use art and music therapy. We use play therapy with figurines for the children. We basically are very unique in that aspect. And we not only serve children and families, but we also assist the school systems and any other contacts that we might receive where our grief counselors need to go out. And so this event supports specifically those programs. And when it was retired a few years ago, we received a lot of feedback to bring it back. But when we decided to bring it back, we decided to do it in a more sustainable way and gave the event a green focus with the goal of zero waste. So in terms of green event planning, this is a big challenge. And what I'm focusing on today is just telling you about putting on our green event, and hopefully if there are those of you out there that either help another nonprofit with an event or a for-profit company that's putting on an event, that you might be able to institute some of the things that you're seeing here. The event logistics are definitely the place to start. The location and venue is extremely important. Ours is in City Park in Fort Collins, which in and of itself is a beautiful area. So there's not a whole lot we need to do to it in terms of maybe an indoor event that might take place inside of a building or a ballroom. The menu and serviceware, incredibly important. I cannot tell you how much time I spent working on the menu. And you might think, well, why was that a big deal? Well, not only are we trying to garner donations from food companies to put on our event, but we're trying to get packaging that is either going to be recyclable or compostable so that we can earn a zero waste rating with this event. Bulk packaging is better than individual packaging. So if we decide to have a pancake breakfast, we don't want 1,000 individual syrup packets and butter packets and all those things that we can't do anything with but to send to the landfill. So we had to think from the very beginning, what are we going to serve people and how can we do it in a way that is as green and sustainable as possible? Recycling, compost, and waste, another huge component of the event, as well as decorations. I don't think a lot of people may put a lot of thought into that. I think they think a lot about recycling and compost and waste, but you have to think about the entire event, start to finish, and that includes, are you going to decorate it, and if so, what are you going to decorate it with? Transportation, how are people getting to your event? Are you providing some sustainable ways for people to get to that event, or are you presuming everyone's going to come in a car to your event? Entertainment and activities for your event. Are you encouraging local at this level? Are you trying to do activities that have supplies that are something that can be reused or disposed of in a better way? Registration and tickets. This is becoming a very popular area in event planning where a lot of events are going ticketless, where there's no more printed tickets. Some are even taking it where there's no more invites that are being printed and mailed to people. They're making those e-invites instead. And of course, marketing an event. How are you marketing it? Are you using signs, posters, and banners? Are you targeting, working with local media? And if so, what are you marketing with? And signage, which is another area where we spend a lot of time thinking, how are we going to sign this event and what materials are we going to use? So for food, beverage, and serviceware, one of the things I wanted to include on my slideshow was a lot of pictures from the event. It's really a visual presentation where you can see the different things that we did. We used local companies like Gibbs, who were sponsors of the event, so that we could have, food not being shipped in and try to keep everything as local as possible. When it came to having a pancake breakfast, we were like, okay, well, everybody wants toppings on their pancakes. How on earth are we going to do this? Well, we had somebody come up with a creative idea for us. So instead of having little individual packets, we had the butter put into these large pastry bags, and then we made it a service buffet where our volunteers actually took the time to serve everybody coming through the line, which created a whole lot less waste than having all those individual butter tubs. And of course, we had compostable ware. We actually worked with Gallegos Sanitation, who was an event sponsor, and I made sure that everything I was purchasing for the event, I kind of had the thumbs up from them in terms of, is this something they're going to be able to recycle or compost? Sometimes people think they're buying an item that is compostable, and then lo and behold, they might find out that the item is not. And so there is a lot of research and effort that needs to go into place to make sure that you are, in fact, getting compostable serviceware for your event. We had to think about portions. So one of the things we got was I found a company where all of our serviceware came from. And for the syrup, for example, we got little 1-ounce portion cups that were compostable. So we're like, great, we'll just pour it out of the big bottles that are recyclable, and we'll put them in the little cups and we'll set them out and all is good. Instead of having, again, all the little individual packets. And there are resources out there where people can definitely purchase items now, and I'd be happy to share that with anyone if you're interested, but they're definitely out there. Not all of them are in Colorado, so that's something you have to think about in terms of purchasing and having items shipped here. And last but not least on this slide is a shout out to the health department, because when you're planning an event, you also have to think about, is everything we're doing in the guidelines of having a food service event inside the city of Fort Collins? So that was an additional challenge for us in trying to create a sustainable green event, was part of that whole start to finish. And now it involved, how are you serving? How are you sanitizing? How are you disposing? So that we got approval to do all of those things. Recycle, compost, and waste. Boy, do you have to plan ahead. Gallegos has these really amazing stations that can come out to events that do the waste, recycling, and composting. But the biggest challenge I've seen is if you're at an event where they don't put anyone near them. And if you don't do that, as I heard in another presentation, the public just starts to make up where they think stuff goes. Yep, that looks good. I think I'll just stick it in that hole. So what we did to be more proactive was we recruited volunteers, and their entire shift was spent monitoring one of the stands at the event and guiding our guests through the recycling process and making sure they understood this is what goes where. Because once you have contamination in your bins, you might run the risk of having an entire load dumped, because there's either too much or they're going to charge you. And for us as a nonprofit, those are not fees that we can incur to go back through your contaminated bins for you. And we put samples, the middle picture on that side shows the samples that we put above that bin so that people could see as they were walking up with their items, this goes here, this goes here, this goes here, to try and help guide them. And let me tell you, you got to be a little creative. In the city of Fort Collins, they have the trash bins that are already in the park. We did not even think that people would still go to those, so we scrambled to cover them so that people were not using them. Then we had to take it so far, because people were lifting the covers, we had to take it another step and we tipped them over. We still witnessed one lady get down on all fours to put her trash in a bin instead of going to one of our recycle stations with a volunteer. So that is how you have to really think ahead on those items. Decorations is pretty straightforward. The main thing I want to focus on there was that we had herb gardens as centerpieces and biodegradable balloons. The herb gardens were plantable in biodegradable containers and donated by a local florist. So it was something that the guests could take with them and enjoy after the event. Transportation at the event, we introduced a bike valet for the first time. And thanks to the Fort Collins Bike Co-op, we were able to have that free to our attendees to park their bikes. We also were on the City Park, obviously, is right on the bus line as well, and people could walk to the event also. We had local entertainment and activities at this event. We didn't want to have people travel in, so we utilized players from the Colorado Eagles, local band The Holler. We had activities for the kids to enjoy as well. And with registration, marketing, and signage, we also tried to be as green as possible. We worked with Signorama to use the sign material that would make our signs biodegradable. We also are hoping to reuse them year after year, so we didn't put years on them so that we could reuse them more than once. We did a lot of electronic marketing. We utilized online calendars, NCBRs, green events. Facebook, social media pages was a great way for us to market the event at no cost and without having anything left over that we needed to recycle. So there's a lot of different ways to do the marketing aspect as well. And the results of what we found was that in the last 2 years, we've had an average diversion rate of 85% on this event. We've received a lot of positive feedback from the community on the event. But you also have to be prepared for any critics or people that are going to ask you tough questions about your event? And is it really green, or are you kind of just using the label on the event but not really following through with it? And the last thing that I really want to touch base upon is simply that it's a tougher time for nonprofits and for everybody. And people are going to be they're going to have higher expectations for who and what they're going to support and what they're going to give to. And we felt as a nonprofit that this was the way we needed to do that. We want to be responsible agents of our nonprofit. And if you have any questions, I would be happy to talk to anyone after the event. If you want to attend the event next year, we've already got the date. Thank you.
Next, we're going to learn about implementation of a sustainability management system with two women from RBB Architects, Jane and Rebecca.
So I'm Jane and this is Rebecca, and we're two members of the RB+B Green Team, which we started in 2007. Shortly after that, we joined ClimateWise, and then we've been working our way up the ranks. So when we decided that we wanted to become platinum, we kind of went through the different options, should we go with LEED or should we do this or that? And we decided that we wanted to do a sustainability management system. And the reasoning was because we had joined AIA 2030 and a couple of different other kind of design-related sustainability systems. And we wanted to bring everything all into one. And then also we kind of wanted to step outside the box and kind of go beyond ClimateWise and really take it to the next level. So as a green team, we submitted a proposal to the management, and we submitted how many hours we thought that it was going to take to implement the SMS. And then we also brought on the CSU Institute for the Built Environment to really facilitate us and take us through this year-long process. And we started out with discovery and assessment.
So our presentation will sort of go through those steps that we went through with IBE and then ended up with our management system and then how we're implementing that in our office. So the first thing that they had us do was gather information about what we were doing at the present time. So part of that, the ClimateWise reports really helped out with that because Jane already had those all done and was able to hand those over, and they could see what we'd been doing so far. Besides that, we also had needed to get an idea of where the management was coming from. So Josie did interviews with the three principals of the firm and really got an understanding from them of how they wanted RB+B to be represented in this document. Also, then the Green Team did an employee survey, and the method we used to do that was the SurveyMonkey, which you might be familiar with is an online survey system. I think we ended up paying $25 or something like that to get the number of questions that we wanted. An example of one of the questions was about an effective way that RB+B would advocate for sustainability. And SurveyMonkey is able to put together the answers and give you this kind of information in a statistical format so that you can understand. In this particular instance, most of the employees were interested in RB+B leading by example in the projects we do, and then also endeavoring to green every building that we design. After we gathered information and kind of got an idea of where we were starting from, we thought it was important to come up with a framework for how we should deliver this SMS. And IBE suggested the use of a framework from One Planet Living. And this was kind of nice because you can see the 10 petals on this flower symbol. Each of them has a symbol on it that shows what sort of principle that is about. So the one at the top would be zero carbon, and the next one to the right, the red one, is zero waste. So these are things that ClimateWise we're already doing through that initiative. But then there's other things in here that make it more of a holistic view for our firm, and we were really attracted to that. Things like the plate is local food, and the smiley face is health and happiness. We've got the list that puts all those things together. The other thing about One Planet Living that really helped our firm was that it was put together for small businesses, and RB+B is about 24 people, and it really helped do something that was for a small business as opposed to that was made for a large manufacturing firm or something like that.
So after we figured out which framework we were going to use, we went on to a half-day workshop with all of the employees. IBE facilitated the workshop and put together the agenda. We kind of talked about what a sustainability management system is. We developed a vision statement for how we wanted to view ourselves. And then we split up into 5 different groups. Each one had 2 of the principles, and they were to come up with different items that could go under each of our focus areas. Our focus areas were internal operations, and that's really the business side. That some of our projects for that would be our Divert to Dirt, which is our compost program. And then internal process and technology is really the design part of what we do, and that would be, you know, trying to go paperless with all of our submittals and that kind of thing. And then the external product offerings are the buildings, they're the end products. And one of our goals in there is to have a client harvest food off of their site at some point. After the workshop, I think this is you. Rebecca will tell you about the action plan.
It's tag team. So we came up, I think there were like 250 ideas that were generated during this workshop. So as a green team, we realized that this was pretty overwhelming to get all of this organized and put into one place. And that was really what did take us the longest amount of time in this sort of year process that we went through. We organized everything using just Excel, putting them in spreadsheets, and color coding for the 10 principles. And then when we put them in the Excel spreadsheet, we were also trying to establish the goal that each one of those would meet, and if it was a quantifiable, measurable goal. So all those things went together. And here, just an example of a spreadsheet. Do we want to? But this was the way that we put together the SMS that was then published in April. And
one of the big pieces of the SMS was the implementation strategy and how the green team was going to meet every, you know, we have bi-weekly meetings. Part of our meetings are spent on our own time, so it's kind of a half work, half volunteer thing for the green team. How we assign people to do different actions, and then how we go about, you know, reminding them that they have a deadline coming up. So what I did is when we were using the Excel spreadsheets, it was really difficult to come up with a way to submit the items to management for approval and then to track them because we had so many items. So what I did was created an Access database. After a few days of creating the Access database, now we have a great way to track all of our items. Now this is a screenshot of the database, and you can see that we have all of our items listed. They're coded by internal operations, process and technology, and our external, and then each one has its own principle. And then you see the task details. So each one you can enter in what your goals are, who's going to do it, when it's due, and you can even, you see the little email button up at the top, you can even email that person and tell them that they're responsible or that they're late. And each person comes to our green team meeting and presents a proposal if they need to get it approved before we implement the project, or they say this is my project and it's done. The Access database also makes it really easy for us to track everything. I can easily generate reports that then I can go back and look at when I'm doing my ClimateWise reporting. I say, okay, what were our projects that we did this year that I can report to ClimateWise? And it's really easy to open up those projects and see what we did and how we did it, how much it cost, how much we saved, et cetera, et cetera. And that's just kind of, you know, all of our checklist. I'm sure you guys have all seen this before. But that makes it easier to report with the database. We still have to do our greenhouse gas baseline. And that's totally separate from our Access thing, but it is part of our SMS.
So that was just a quick overview of the year-long process that we took to put this document together. I think the whole company is really happy that we have something that's in writing and that's you know, everybody can refer to it. It's been, now our sustainability goals are all defined and in one place. And that was something that, even though RB+B has always been very interested in designing buildings that are sustainable and studying that and all new things that are coming up in sustainable design. And then on the other hand, we had the things that we were doing in the office to be more sustainable. Those things hadn't come together in one place. So the SMS is really a way to do that. We put all the ideas together. Thank you. And then the One Planet system helped us organize those ideas, which was also very important. And now this Access database is really helping us implement those ideas.